show number 31. Apologise for the late upload yesterday. We actually had our end organised, didn't we, Ben? But there were some technical difficulties with our...
Right, now we're going to play Lorraine Moray, a leading scientist who's been a whistleblower for years, and what she says you can take to the bank as being true. So we'll play that. It's about 4 minutes or so, but it talks about the Vizsna effect.
Vigna.
This is a very different nuclear weapon. It's using a nuclear power plant as a pulsed neutron weapon source. And it certainly probably damaged those other 3 reactors around Fukushima and could have damaged more. But also it bombarded the whole population within hundreds of miles. So on March 14th, the MOX fuel melted, it was burning up, and there was a blow up in Unit 3 that launched all those thousands of fuel pods into the sky. Pieces are all over Japan, and particulates are all over the world. From that one explosion, well, let's go to the black dust. This is high temperature MOX fuel particulates and nanoparticles, and why they're toxic and how they're toxic. And they're quite different. The particulates that are being formed by the Wigner effect are that's caused by bombardment of particularly metals by neutrons or any of the energy from the nucleus, gamma rays, alpha particles, beta particles, X-rays. All of those come out of the nucleus of radioactive isotopes. And what they're doing is poking holes and making dislocations in the crystalline matrix, the atomic matrix of the metals and all of the materials too, by the way, including humans. And it's this was first reported at Chernobyl when the scientists went down after 10 or 15 years into the basement to look at the elephant feet, and they saw this coating of dust, and every time they went back, the dust was thicker. Well, that is from the disintegration of the surface atoms of, for instance, metal, and it just turns it to dust as it eats down through the metal, weakening the metal and brittling it. And this has a very serious implication now, because it means the entire infrastructure of the Fukushima power plant, of Japan, of airplanes, of the entire infrastructure of the planet now is being bombarded daily, nightly, 24 hours a day with Fukushima radiation, and it's breaking down the global infrastructure and the global population, all living things. And so it is creating particulates, dust, particles that are highly mobile. They're very, very radioactive, and they're full of for instance, the fuel rods. There are pieces of them flying all over everywhere. They flew everywhere, all over Japan. Well, they are disintegrating too, and that's releasing particulates that a lot of them have plutonium and uranium in them. That goes into people's lungs. And I can tell you that by 1963, at the end of nuclear bomb testing, atmospheric testing, compared to lung cancer rates in England from 1850 to 1860, before man-made radiation existed, lung cancer has increased by 1963 in Hawaii 17,000%. That's from nuclear technologies. And that's called a pathway cancer. So we're going to see huge increases in pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, mouth cancer, throat cancer, tongue cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer, all of the areas in the body, the organs that are kidney cancer, that anything carrying food or liquids through the body is going to be damaging the pathway organs and pathways through the body first. And that also, cesium has a horrific effect on the heart. So we have a planet of death and illnesses that is increasing every day, and I don't know what the answer is.
And this is what one of ours, I think it must have been Joel who put this up. It's got the answer and it's got my face. Huh? We've actually tried to contact her, but she can't get through. So, now your adventures, this is the whole thing.
Yes, my field report from Sydney. And the world as it is, I guess.
And who are you, first off? Because no one's seen you before.
No one's seen me before.
Well, this is on a different channel.
Oh, okay.
And
fair enough. Lazarus, Adam, son of Martha, here, mother, and Brian's son as well. Yeah, should I go into my background? Not really, no.
well, just you've been.
Whatever you want to say,
6 years,
because you are talking to everybody in Europe, in particular your sisters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we bombarded them with information and they're not listening.
Yeah.
And Claudia, of course, and everyone else in Europe that we know, no one's listening.
Yeah, but and that's what my observation is that nobody was listening, nobody is listening, and that's what it is by design. Is that the psyche is literally, they've designed your psyche to collapse in on itself, where you're actually relying on the underlying thought of whatever is being presented to you. Like, you're not thinking, you're literally sleeping. You're just cruising on this line of belief that they push towards you, and you default to it. As soon as I beg you to actually think critically for a second and come off that line, you're not able to do it. Your brain hasn't been exercised. You've been asleep for so long. But no, my story, I don't think I'll have to go into it really. It's but I can go into that later down the road. But what's most important is really the report of how people are nowadays when they receive not only information but evidence, proof, fact, scientific fact, absolutely everything. Like, you know, if this was 5 years ago in the whole truth debate movement, if you had that evidence and those facts, nobody would shoot you down. Everybody would go, yep, that's it. But now, what we're facing now is we are so completely far gone down this road, is that even with the evidence and that, you default back to that baseline of belief, because it's so much easier for you just to cruise on that line of living than to actually take responsibility for what you can do in this life. And so I'll just start into where I went. I went back to Sydney from Queensland here. I was working in the city and meeting all my friends, people in the city. People are very, very logical thinking people, and, you know, prodigies of their trade, people that are amazing with their hands, with their mind, with many skill sets. But one thing I noticed, and it's kind of a joke, is that they must have used all their logic up at the day of work, honestly, because when they come home and they sit down, I get it. You've been working all those hours, you're tired. The last thing you want to hear is something about how this is bad for you and how this could actually kill you and how this is harming you. But on the contrary, when I'm sitting there, right, I'm sick myself, and I'm telling you, look, this is harming you. This could have you ending up like me or even worse, okay? It's kind of insulting when you turn around and go, oh, yeah, or yeah, I get that. And then you turn around and go do the exact opposite of what I've just said. So basically, let's take an example as simple as eating McDonald's. Something as stupid as eating McDonald's, right? You know, I'm telling you exactly everything that's bad about it, how there's absolutely no nutritional value, how you're actually feeding the beast that is killing millions of people by paying these sick mothers. And what do? Oh, yeah. Feeling kind of peckish, I'm gonna go get myself a Macca's meal. You know, How far we are. That's how far gone we are. You know, I was telling them about Fukushima. All right, I was telling my friends about Fukushima and the radiation. Okay, now they all soaked it in. They were all very receptive. Now the next day, right, it kind of been washed out of their brain with all the television that they had been watching and the copious amount of cannabis that they were smoking. But end result, what sunk in? What sunk in? That's what I'm looking for. I planted that seed, and usually, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you planted a seed, and it's going to sprout. You'll see that sprout, and it'll flourish. And it'd be as simple as just the way they start to perceive the world after you had that conversation. The very first minute after you finish that conversation, how they look at things a little bit different. No, do you know what the only thing they remembered was? Do you like dinner? You guys want to go get some sushi? It's a good Japanese restaurant. The fish comes right from Japan. I'm not gonna basically the way I see it is everybody on this baseline of just cruising through life and spiritually, physically, mentally, everything. When I see this, I am gonna try and give you a hand. I will try and mate. When I see you like this, I see your soul hungry. I see you as a physical being, a lazy pile of nothing, because you're not using your brain. You're not utilizing all the gifts that God gave you. And so when I see that, I can't help but try and be like, all right, you're hungry, you're thirsty, your soul is thirsty. I'll bring the water to your lap. I'll bring the meal to your lap. I'll give you absolutely every tool you need to actually free yourself from the guilt that you feel, from the shame that you feel, from the pain, from absolutely everything, from all the dismay, the mystery of the world. I can put that in your lap. But I can't force you to eat it. I'm not going to force you to eat it. It's that simple. But the way everybody is now, it used to be that way. You could put everything in a nice silver platter and they'd gobble it up, and then there you go. Another person out there telling the truth. Now, you put it in front of them, they expect you to feed it. Feed it to them. Just get it. And honestly, the only way I see that you guys can really get away from this, really dismantle this, it's too far gone. It's absolutely too far gone. It would take generations to get rid of this. The indoctrination that you are all so passionate. It's almost like a religion, the way you guys stick to your sciences and your guns that have been proven over and over again through evidence, through actual studies, statistics, actual physical evidence. And no, you just disregard it and you push a lie. You push a lie that is just keeping us all in absolute moral depravity, and we're all soulless at the moment. That's how I look at all of you. When I walk down the street and I see everybody on their androids and this glazed look over your guys' eyes. You're asleep, and it's not even like, I don't even like the whole truth movement, that they have where they say, oh, asleep and awake. It's like, no, mate, when do you ever think? When do you ever take yourself out of the box of thinking, have to go to work, have to eat, have to pay this, have to watch TV? Take yourself out of that perspective and actually look at the world as if you just arrived. And you're telling me this is good? This is what God wanted? So the field report being everybody, and even the people that have knowledge, people that have done the truth movement. Again, you're so absolutely distant from what's actually happening in the world. You're so absolutely distant. And the funniest thing is, I've seen what they've done. Okay, you can have a little bit of truth mixed with a whole lot of BS. And people will think they're truthers, they'll think they're absolute top-notch. Jordan Maxwell's, David Ickey's, Alex Jones's, right? Hell, even Dean Clifford's, right? But the fact is, as soon as you hear supreme truth, you go right back. You go right back. You go back before you even became a truther. You go back to believing 9/11 was done by 19 Arabs with box cutters from caves, right? That's what you go back to. As soon as you hear the truth about Judaism, about the truth about the Holocaust, as soon as you hear the truth about God and Brian, what do? You revert right back to the state of mind that is destroying the world. All you truthers, you're doing absolutely nothing. Illuminati? Are you kidding me? Illuminati, Freemasonry, all that nonsense? Give me a break. You know these people have names, right? These people have names. They have paper trails, thousands of kilometers long. You know, go look for some fantasy eye in a pyramid. That's not even the Illuminati symbol, mind you. Yeah. So all of you people deceived through this BS. I hope you realize that, you know, when we push these Illuminati theories and we talk to people on the streets in Sydney and we do these certain things, you got to look at the end result. What information are you spreading, and who does it benefit in the end? Honestly, the way I see it, I see it benefiting the people that are running the show to this day, the Jews. Because guess what? Oh, it's Freemasonry. Oh, here it is, it's this. But you're not looking at the actual elephant. You're looking underneath the tail, you're looking underneath the foot, the trunk. Oh, it's Freemasonry, it's communism. It's the Jew. It's the big elephant in the room. And as soon as you try to enlighten people to that, and the way I try to do it, especially in Sydney, is because you can't come out and say anything. You can't come out and say that you're not for homosexuality, for public social acceptance for homosexuality, and you're not for gay marriage. You are posted as being full of hate and bigoted. Except you're not. That's just simply how you feel as a person in their natural state. But you're the one, I'm the one, getting all the backlash. So who's really, now, let's look at the spectrum. Yeah, okay, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the majority of the people didn't like gay marriage, and it was looked down upon, and yeah, you were probably treated a lot worse than you are today. But now, it's the other side of the spectrum. Anybody against it is full of hatred and is bigoted, is the asshole, is the donkey's end. You know what I mean? And so what I try to do with people, I just try to say, look, with Judaism and the whole homosexuality and multiculturalism, what's the end result? What is your end result with multiculturalism? Please tell me. We all love multiculturalism. What's the end result there, right? Well, is it to get rid of all culture? Mix us all into this one ball? Because what I see happening then is I see there being darker people and dark people. That's it. You're going to destroy the white race with that. You know, a black male and a white female can't have a white child. A white male and a black female can't have a white child. So this whole multiculturalism that is fueling this and going into our ancestral lands, what is the end of that? And people just, oh, but how can you say we haven't learned anything from the Africans? Are you kidding? From spear chuckers? You do realize that we were the ones that brought civilization to Africa while they were eating themselves. Cannibalism was so rife that the tribes that would go after the weaker ones would force them to have children so they could eat them until they heard the word of God. You know, but no, all right, so we go down that road and we get down to that situation, we pound it out, you know, that debate with these people where I'm not trying to get them to believe in anything I'm saying. I'm literally trying to appeal to the logical sense. 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? Forget the 11 that they're trying to make you think it is. It's 2. Okay? And so when we pound out that, we'll go down the other road until it gets down to the baseline, which is the Jew. Now we can debate every single thing to the point. We can go communism, we can go World War II, we can go Hitler, we can do all these things that even, you know, social constructs today that aren't working, economics, everything. And I can have that person not only totally convinced, but actually knowing that what I'm saying is the truth. And they've actually looked it up and they know it themselves. And they'll be right on point. They'll even throw everything that they had to bring to the table away. But as soon as you get to the Jew, what happens? That guilt has been installed so hard, so absolutely hard. 6 million, which is a completely fabricated number. But let's say 6 million, okay. Well, what was it? It was 60 million that died in World War II. 58 million of them were civilians.
With 60 million Russians.
Christians.
Well, not only that, Bolshevism, from the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917 till 1991, 125 Orthodox Christian Russians and Slavs have been killed by Jewish occupation.
125 million.
125 million. And, well, actually, you know, that's the thing. They actually don't even know the numbers because the Jews, the Bolsheviks actually stopped recording the death rate numbers. So, really, it's probably a lot more than that. Now, what you're seeing in Ukraine, sorry, let's go back to that 6 million figure. Just to appeal for logic's sake, because this is a point I try to use for everybody. Okay, all right, fair enough. 6 million. We're focusing on that. But at the same time, you had 10 million Ukrainians killed by the Bolsheviks. You know, you had 4 million Hungarians, right? Polish people, you had 6 million, something over 6 million Polish people, right? All these Slavic people just absolutely being slaughtered. Now, what do you say about that? You know, and that was done by a Jewish-occupied Bolshevik communist government. Not Stalin. I'm talking about Lenin and Trotsky before Stalin came in. Stalin was an absolute puppet. When you actually go through the history of how that whole movement started, they regarded Stalin, they patronized him. He was the gopher. He would go get their coffees. That's all he was. Why do you think when he got into power, he was married to the absolute utmost wealthiest Jewess? In every depiction of him with his wife, you have his wife's father standing behind him, standing behind Stalin, who was a great compadre of Trotsky and Lenin and you know, Rosa Luxemburg, all these people. So when I say that to people, do you know what they turn around and say to me? They go, "Yeah, but it's the way, it's the fact that the Jews were actually targeted and the systematic murder of them." Then what the hell do you call that in Russia? What do you call communism? That's the systematic destruction of the Orthodox white Christian, of the European Slav. What do you call that? What do you call when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty and the truth of the matter, when you get into the Holocaust, what do you call what we're doing to the Aryan race? With all the guilt and everything, can you imagine what that would do, not only mentally, but spiritually? Years and years and years and years of the bullshit that they put out about Germans? So, and people are quick to defend, quick to bring up their shields and guns for the Jewish Holocaust theory.
And they always know somebody who has
Absolutely.
a survivor.
Absolutely, and that's another one. But you know, what I'm trying to basically get across here is that there is no logic anymore. There's a refusal for it. It's not just willful ignorance anymore. It's pretty damn well a decision. And it's getting to the point where we're really going to see the true heads separated from the weak. Like it's gotten to that point where, you know, people that I thought were a shoo-in, all the way to, I'm like, you know what, I got my money on him to the last single second of the game. No, absolutely not. None of you. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. I got by about that. My biggest thing was addiction to cannabis and all this other shit and making excuses in my life. No, fuck no. It's really simple, guys. It's really easy. And like this, I'm appealing to the listeners right now, the followers. Anybody else that's, you know, listening to me and thinks I'm full of shit and doesn't understand what I'm saying, great, fantastic. But guys, seriously, just cut the nonsense. Smoking, all this nonsense, all this stuff that you think is really hard to quit, even if it's a physical addiction, you should see the sciences and the studies done behind the power of belief and thought. You only make it as hard as you really want it to be. Seriously, dude. That's as baseline as it gets. Now, for everybody else that's kind of listening to this and know that I'm speaking the truth and starting to get that little anxiety inside of them, that's starting to think, oh God, I may sound crazy because I haven't actually gone into the whole logical debate, you know. But if you're actually feeling that anxiousness, I would suggest start, like I said, start looking at the world as if you just arrived. That's the logic that you need to start from. And do you know what that logic is? That's the logic of a 4-year-old kid. It's really simple, you know. So, with that, what do you think?
So how have you, for those of our followers who have known Adam for years, and the subject of smoking cannabis and marijuana, and medicinally we know, and it is a marvellous plant, and it will be, in the future, it will be utilised for every marvellous benefit that it has. But you've spent many years, haven't you, stoned.
Look, it did help me, right, for the ailments that I was experiencing at the time. But honestly, that was only 12% out of 88% of the time, right? So 88% of the time, I'm stoned because it's a mental addiction. You know, you're stuck in this world. I get it. This world really sucks for us guys. It really does. Knowing that God's back and yet having to deal with the everyday stuff that we go through. I get it. You need that escape. But look, recreational, it doesn't even, why affect your mental state? Like, when it gets to the point where we're all going to be super happy about everything and everything's going to be absolutely satisfied and filled and contempt, then why alter that in any way? Right? Like, I get it, it's relaxing and all that nonsense, but guys, be better than that.
I know.
Be absolutely better than that. Because underlying thing is, it does make you passive. It makes you very passive. And I don't mean like, you know, there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, what are you talking about? I do all this and all. I don't mean like, dude, I mean when it comes down to like getting critical about something, and I mean as serious as it is, like, you know, talking about basically who needs to be kicked the fuck off the face of the planet for the good of the rest of all the people. You're sitting there going, peace, love, multiculturalism, everybody, let's get together, let's call a group. No, it's not. That's not the way it is. You know, and I know even the way I think now, if I got stoned, I would start thinking again. I go, oh God, please forgive everybody in the world. No, come on. These people don't deserve any forgiveness. Now, medically, it is astounding. I think the only people that should be like, you know, smoking it during the day, almost like the pack of cigarettes, are the people with all the mental ailments nowadays. Like, you know, any schizophrenia or even anything that has to do with a psychological, but even then, it's very low doses of THC that you actually need. Like, people, seriously, you're smoking quarters, you're smoking ounces and all this shit, when literally you only need micrograms of THC in the bloodstream for it to do its job, to have your body absolutely regulated up to speed. So you don't even need to be stoned to feel as great as you're feeling. You realize that. It's something that's going to be utilized for medicine, curing. It's basically it's the one-stop shop cure for all the crap that they have installed into the world. Okay? But right now, abusing it the way we are by just, you know, smoking it to cope, man, like, get off of it, bro. Just try to just go off a little bit. Just go off of it, man, because look how critical it is. I mean, like, if war starts tomorrow in your street and they're marching down your street and they're coming to kill you, are you going to be sitting there stoned? Is that where you're going to be running out there? There's not going to be electricity. It's not going to be anything. And the number one thing I guarantee you're going to be worried about is getting fucking high again, because you've got this mental stigma about how you just can't cope with your anxieties unless you've got that little bit of just relaxation. Get through your anxieties, bro. Have that panic attack. Fucking don't lie to yourself. If anything's happened to you in the past that's actually creeping up in your psyche and actually causing these problems, face it, address it. Don't just get stoned and just beat around the bush thinking about it and then lull that away and then go on the net and everything's much more interesting. Oh no, man, I've been stoned for so long, guys. Sober is a new high to me. Seriously. Like, I've been smoking since like 9 years old, on and off. So, like, you know, it has its absolute benefits, absolutely. But the fact is, we're not even touching a percentage of those benefits until we're actually able to utilize it as much as we want in a laboratory and actually get down to the science of it. Because, using just random strains to cure cancers, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, it's because the THC to CBD ratio, the myrcene, the tyrene, all these different flavonoids and cannabinoids in a plant. But because it's not legal and it's not open to us, yeah, we're all getting stoned. Once it's legal, literally, we'll have everybody's cannabidiol levels perfect, that even if you did smoke a joint, you wouldn't get high. You would not get high. You would have everything your body needs. The only reason why you actually do get high is because the receptors are damaged and it's in repair. That's the only reason why you're getting stoned. You know that. So. Anything else about medical marijuana? Guys, look, it's something that needs to be used in moderation, even as medicine. Because a little bit goes so far. Goes absolutely so far. I think it's something that I think it's a beautiful plant that even tugs on your free will aspect and your own moral judgment and your own foundation of how to go about in the world. I think it'd be a great test to see who can grow it, harvest it, and do everything without smoking it. The smokers that have been smoking for ages. That's going to be, that's what I can't wait to do. I can't wait to actually be growing it and actually making something from it instead of actually smoking this shit. Getting stoned off it. Not many people can say that in the cannabis industry. A lot of people that are medical advocates can't say that. And a lot of you people out there in the cannabis community, in the cannabis culture, you're all fucked. All you heads of pioneers, greenhouse seeds, even fucking organic man seeds, all you top-notch industry folk in the cannabis industry and that claim to be for the people medically and all that, you're all fucked in the head. You're all liars. You know why? Because the first thing that you're growing for is yourself. Second thing is, first thing, head stash. Second thing, money. If it's not that, head stash, it's money and then head stash. But those two always come first. Helping people, that's so far down on your list. And I've seen it every single day with your posts. I got rid of the pioneers of the cannabis industry all through the United States, Amsterdam, even out of Israel, for God's sakes, Canada. Got rid of all of them because they're all fucked in the head. All I asked them to do was, look, call your local congressman because your taxpayer dollars are going to people that are killing innocent people in Ukraine. And it's been admitted by your own government and it's been proven. So all I'm asking you guys to do is just call and say, hey, look, I know what you're doing. Cut it out. You have 10,000 people on your Facebook. I even posted, if you can't make a call, if it's too much of a hassle, repost this. Because out of 10,000 people, 10 people might look at it and go, shit, you know what? I heard about this. This is right. I'm going to call up about that. I'm going to do something about it. You do have that power. And nothing, absolutely nothing from any of you. You could not give a shit about anybody but your plants and your little co-op and your little thing that you got going. You cannot tell me that, medical marijuana, it's so great for the people. When all you dispensaries, all you people, let's cut the bullshit. You're all making money. You're all making decent money. And that's what it is. That's the underlying theme. And it's not medical at all, for God's sakes. The only ones that I honestly champion are TGACs. Good God for them, because absolutely, you see what happens. They're a real company, just like all these other companies. And they're pumping thousands and thousands and thousands into the streets, into kids, into programs. You know why? Because they know exactly what is going on. They know that they're growing this for the people. They know that, look, this is something for everybody. It's not for us. But then look at 99% of all the other companies. What are they doing? They're reinvesting in advertising, for fuck's sakes. It's gone so far, guys. Gone absolutely so far. Every single culture has been ruined, except for the dominant filth. Every single one. Cannabis, graffiti, skateboarding, those are my niches. Those are my niches. Those are the people I know. It's all ruined. That was something that was started from the ground up as well. Started by us, for us, young generations. It's gone. And that was only the 70s, mate. So think about all the things that hundreds of years ago, everything that we knew, our ancestors, that God, Yah himself, had installed into us, that infinite, undying wisdom. It's called your conscience, it's called your heart, right? It's gone. It's absolutely gone. And what's left? Seriously, what's left? Bit of a rant.
Well done.
Jonathan Williams recorded in his book Legions of Satan, written in 1781, that General Cornwallis revealed to General Washington that a holy war will now begin on America. And when it is ended, America will supposedly be the citadel of freedom, but her millions will unknowingly be the loyal subjects of the crown. Cornwallis went on to explain what would seem to be a self-contradiction, and he said this, quote, "Your churches will be used to teach the Jews' religion, and in less than 200 years, the whole nation will be working for divine world government. That government that they believe to be divine will be the British Empire. All religions will be permeated with Judaism without even being noticed by the masses, and they will all be under the invisible, all-seeing eye of the grand architect of Freemasonry." And indeed, George Washington himself, ladies and gentlemen, was a Freemason, and he gave back through false religion what he had won with his army. This divine world government that Cornwallis spoke of was the religion of the New World Order. Now, the Jewish religion that Cornwallis was talking about is not the religion that most Jews in this world practice, but a new, secular, humanistic view that came out of the lodge of the mysteries, promoted under international Zionism and the concept of British Israelism. It is the tenet that the Anglo-Aryan race are the true Israelites, and because of that, their royal family, being descended from the house of David in a direct line and in relationship to Jesus Christ himself, have the divine right to rule. One of the myths that are propounded, and you will see more and more of it, is that Jesus did not die on the cross, but entered into a sexual relationship which may have included marriage with Mary of Magdalene, and founded the Merovingian bloodline of kings which began the European dynasties, and this is passed on in secret from father to son and mother to daughter, even unto this day.
Prince William has been inducted into an ancient order of British Knights in a ceremony at Windsor Castle. He's now a Knight of the Garter, all part of his steady elevation in rank as second in line to the throne.
This was a royal coming of age for the young man who will one day be king.
Well, Prince William is walking slightly ahead of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. They are bringing up the rear of that procession there. Prince William emerging for the very first time.
Now, you were working on the capstone, a question from Andrew.
Yes, our lovely young couple over in Texas.
Lubbock, Texas, where?
Lubbock, Texas is where I got the original 1611 King James Bible translated by a man called Chris Epps. And a man who employed him to do that was named Hightower. Now, his company was raided and all of his database was lost. And I called him up in Lubbock, Texas, talking to him. And he said if I could restore his lost database, he'd give me half the company that owned the King James Bible, which I did. Right. And he wanted to locate Chris Epps. He said he couldn't find him anywhere. Well, this Chris Epps was an angel. So I just summoned him to contact him and he got back in business, right? Because the original King James Bible, you could say King James got even with the Freemasons for beheading his mother. And he was a man with William Shakespeare, who was named Edward de Vere, that put together the manuscript that was handed to them by the Freemasons out of the Freemason universities by Francis Bacon. And he had the opportunity to get even once and for all. And this is all the codes that he encoded with William Shakespeare, which was only possible because he was the first righteous king to sit upon the sacred stone of destiny that was stolen by Edward I on July the 4th in 1296 for protection, while the 13 competitors were competing for the throne of Scotland. Now, when you're in the royal family, you know who the true royal family is. So what he did, he left codes in it with the name Golightly. And how he did it was this. When King William the Lion of Scotland, his son died after becoming king, he was Alexander II. His son was Alexander III, and he died with no issue. Then the competition of the 13 was gathered, and this invited all the royal families of Europe and Scotland and England to compete for the throne. Well, as it turned out, Patrick Golightly, who was the true line of kings, withdrew because he had no support from what would later become the Freemasons, but the Jews. And because he withdrew, King James, his lineage, became king. So it's a secondary lineage from Robert Bruce. Now, what he did was he knew the Golightly name in an English gematria of 115. So he changed the word Sabbath, which is found in 115 verses of the Bible. So he's lining up the Sabbath, and what the code of the Sabbath is Jesus said he was the Sabbath. Therefore, how did he link the two together? Well, firstly, by the gematria of Golightly and the verse count with the word Sabbath in it. And the word Sabbath is highlighted by the fact that in the King James Bible, it is spelt with a lowercase s. And then you find how many lords there are in the entire Bible, and it's 6666 verses. And that is Babylonian Talmud. So that's what King James did for the world. He identified who Jesus must be in the end time, because it's got to come through the royal line of kings. So he identified it's got to be a Golightly. There's no other royal line. And he identified the Sabbath by the lowercase s, which is the same number count as the word Sabbath and Golightly. So that's what he did. Now, added to that, there are thousands of codes. Andrew, he and his wife, you spoke to Andrew, and well, I spoke to Andrew, and you spoke to his wife.
Yes, lovely lady.
Hmm?
Lovely lady. Andrea.
And he found us at the same moment that the planets were lined up in space and forming a cross with 66.66 astronomical units.
Yes, the 26th of June, 4
Right.
years ago.
Right.
Today's the 27th in Australia. So it was the 26th of June, crucifixion.
Now I've noticed with Andrew, he is so brilliant in his mind that no matter what I mention, he knows it all backwards. He's sucked it up big time.
Yes, like a sponge.
So he asked me, had I ever considered doing the cubic area and volume of the levels of the pyramid up to, say, the peak being 5813 pyramid inches high, then going down to the next height, which is the platform where the rejected capstone is to fit. So I looked into that, and to my pleasure, amazement once again, that you take the base, which is in its perfect size, 9131.06 wide, so times 4 is 365.24 inches, 100 years, when you say that one day is a pyramid inch. And when I did the height, the volume of how many millions of pyramid inches in that cube is the same number as the height it is in feet. So then I thought, this is very interesting. So I then did the platform where the capstone is rejected because it's too big to fit. That's what it was. That's the whole idea of the Bible itself, is that the capstone, the reality is that it's too hard to believe that actually the Lord is actually coming back. God himself is coming to the earth. No, can't believe that. They can believe the devil, they believe Lucifer, but they don't believe God himself is coming down to straighten everything out. So the height of the capstone where it was to sit on the summit platform, that number in cubic inches, so you take the width of it, 9131.06, make a square out of that, and then go to a height, make a cube out of it, to the height of the platform, and that number in millions of cubic inches, pyramid inches, is the same number as the height in feet. So I then did the 35th layer of masonry, and the centre line of that, it's 50 pyramid inches thick, so it stands out because it's much wider or higher than all the other. So it's got to mean something. And of course the centre line of it is the same number as the age I was when I married Lucifer in the flesh, and then the width of the antechamber, and the number is 1162.6 pyramid inches from the baseline. When you do that, it gives you the number in cubic inches of the distance to the South Pole from where I was born, in miles. So here's this millions of cubic inches.
Yes.
Starts off with the 4 numbers.
3877.
3877, which is how many times the word God is found and how many miles it was from St. Margaret's maternity, Catholic.
It's the verse count containing
verse count,
3 gods.
Right, containing that. So then you take the pyramid itself, and with the CAD program, you can get it to calculate the centre of it. The centre of it, down from the peak, is the number for comforter, which is the distance from where I was born, the house I grew up in, to the South Pole, 3875 pyramid inches, 3875 miles. So you can see that Andrew and his wife, and she's also very much into watching our videos, and a lovely lady she is as well, a lovely family. That family unit has been divinely inspired to tell me something I didn't know. So a hearty hail Hitler there.
Absolutely. Hail Hitler, your hero.
And if it wasn't for Andrew and his wife, we wouldn't have been able to go to Europe.
No, he made it possible.
He made it possible by giving us some money, because we were broke, right?
Yeah, he didn't ask, he didn't anything,
No,
he just sent it and then told us.
And then sent some more.
And then said, yes, there was no, he just sent it. And that's what people who are, the angels are all the time prompting people to do things, say things, give things, or not. It's all angelic. It's whether, as Adam said and you've said, the idiot out the front is picking it up and being obedient. I talked
Now, I've got to spend a special thanks also to Susan.
Yes, I sent her a message. She
She
was
sent
inspired.
us $115.
Well, she was inspired. It was her Jesus' birthday last week, and so she was inspired to send 100 francs, Swiss francs, which converted to 115, which is Golightly.
Which is
Sabbath,
Golightly.
the subject of today.
That, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is my case, right? And I'm sticking to it.
Now, we're up to 50 minutes, so we've got 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go.
Well, we got our Adam has done a beautiful speech there of what's going on in the world.
Well, what's interesting, tell about the French woman who ended up sitting. Tell some of the funny bits. How in your travels you usually get somebody or just.
Well, you wanted to sleep, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to sleep so bad. Now, there's been a reoccurring theme every time I'm traveling. If I'm going the wrong route in life, I won't have any travel buddy. If I'm going the right route, there's always been a travel buddy. I swear to God. Coming back from Poland, it was this young, kipper, bright Aussie woman that hopped on the plane at Munich. So I had to, I only had 2 hours to myself. Right? She was like, you speak English? Great! Oh mate, my day has just been a debacle. Do you think it's quite rude of me if I put on some deodorant? Like literally, that's what she did when she sat next to me. She's like, it's just been a debacle, and her stuff's flying all over me, and she's putting her deodorant on, and I'm smelling her pits. It's just, And then of course when I get into Brisbane, right, I get off, and she was in front of me on the plane. I hop off the plane. She wasn't in the terminal. She wasn't everywhere. She vanished. She was gone.
Angel.
And I couldn't find her on Facebook either, right? So, anyways.
Now
coming back from Sydney, I had this French student, right? And I thought she was German, so I asked her when we stopped. I was like, "Are you German by any chance?" She's like, "No. Can't you tell by my accent I'm French?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What are you doing?" Yada yada yada. So we get back on the bus, and we all have our own segregated seats, right, that we're all assigned to, and she just hops into mine immediately and grabs the phone out of my hand. She goes, "Show me your music." And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, "Oh, but is it okay if I sit here? I don't want to be wrong." I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine,
Tell how tired you were.
I was absolutely exhausted, alright? I got no sleep the night before because a dog was keeping me up, and we had old mate, 50 years old, he was watching television all night. So, and I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to be out of the house at 4, right? To get up to get to work. I was getting a ride into the city with Chris. Now, mind you, my bus doesn't come for another 13 and a half hours.
5:30 in the evening.
5:30 in the evening. So I end up getting into Leichhardt, right, at about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. Now I won't say who was driving, but put it this way. The event it was supposed to be 3 of us in the heavy rigid vehicle going down into Sydney. We get to Pheasant's Nest and we get a phone call, and the guy's going, "I'm right behind you! Why didn't you wait for me?" And it was one of the workers, and I was in his spot.
Oh.
And Chris was like, so we pulled off at Pheasant's Nest. And I couldn't go in the actual back of the truck because if they get pulled over and searched, it's just like, you've got a Canadian in your removalist vehicle.
Away.
Yeah. So what happened was I actually laid down in the cab behind it. I got absolutely no sleep on the trip up because that's what I'm dealing with. So I get on this bus, and I literally sit on the bus, and I'm like, man, this is so perfect. Like, I'm gonna sleep for the first time. All the way there. Angels, thank you, And then I did. I fell asleep and got onto that first stop, and that's when, I asked her. I was just like curious, right? Because I seen her writing stuff down, and I'm like, if she's German, I'm going to go up and write Ernst Zundel, Mark Weber, Justice for Germans, and, But no, she turns out to be French. Sits down next to me, and it starts off with music, and going into music, And then, of course, what does it roll into? It goes into everything. It was put it this way. By the time we finally like stopped talking and she left me alone, and it was like, please, I'm just tired. I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. It was about 4:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. and of course, like, you know, I'm like, oh, please, like, where is she getting off? And she's like, oh, I'm going to Brisbane. And I'm like, oh, cool, all right, fantastic. So I'm stuck here until that happens, right? Now, the bus driver tells us not to recline in our seats when someone goes behind us, but he says, now this is why I'm giving you an assigned seat, so you won't have anybody behind you. Lo and behold, I had someone behind me, so I couldn't recline. So I'm sitting like this, trying to get some sleep, right? Long story short, she must have been an angel, because we had the gnarliest debate, and at the end she basically conceded. She was just, that's it, she gives up. She had nothing. But
so she was testing you,
it
prodding
was
you,
bloody
pushing
strenuous.
you, stretching.
Yes, she was like, how can you say that? And she was, and usually like I get fair emotional, but I was just like, wow, okay, let's just really calm this out. And it was, you know what, like I must say, as exhausting and mentally straining it was actually I enjoyed it. It was gnarly. It was like a really proper debate. You know, where at the end of it, you shake each other's hand, and it's like, all right, leave with what we brought to the table, you know, and maybe a bit more. But finally, okay, so that all ends up, and, you know, she tries to add me on her, I try to add her on my Facebook, doesn't work. So, what does she do? Like literally, because I go on her Facebook page, and it doesn't even have the add a friend button. Because she has it closed to the public, you have to actually send her a private message. So I sent her a private message just with my name. I said, add me. Still haven't added me. Right?
Angel.
And, but that wasn't it. So I ended up getting like absolutely no sleep, getting to Brisbane. I have a 2-hour wait. And then I'm like sitting there, and it's 10:05, and my bus comes at 12:15 or 12 o'clock.
12.
Yeah, 12 o'clock. And what happens? They go, oh, there's a bus going to Hervey Bay at 10:05. And I'm looking at the clock, it's 10:03. I ran up to the lady, I'm like, I just want to double check in case that's not my bus, right? And she goes, oh, well, that's a flexi ticket, you can just hop on the bus now if you want. And I was like, what time does it arrive in Hervey Bay? And she says 5:30. I'm like, but my bus arrives at 5:15. That's just sitting on a bus for an extra 2 hours. I was like, do I do it? Do I run and grab my bags and try and catch this bus that's leaving right now and wait for this lady to print a ticket? No, lady, you know what? I'll just wait for the 2 o'clock one. Went, sit down. And of course there was a bloke next to me that had his bag and everything, and we started talking. I don't know how the conversation started, but long story short, it went into coffees, and turns out that he looks just like Al.
Yes, my angel and Ya's angel that visited him years before, and me was 2007, August 7th, 2007.
And then, yeah.
The angel I met was broke.
Angel I met was broke as
yes,
well.
Angel I met was
Absolutely broke.
yeah, and
had his whole life in 3 bags, and
yes, yeah. My Al was
I was walking into
homeless.
a fast food restaurant, and he come up and started talking. He said, look, I'm broke, I haven't got any money. Huh? So I had, I think, $3. That's all I had, because I've been locked up in an insane asylum. Right? So I was on a day trip with the other loonies, right? And they took us to McDonald's of all places. So all I had was $1 and change, and I just gave him that. And then I looked like that and turned back, he was vanished. Like he wasn't in the shop, there's no crowd.
Yeah.
But I just glanced away and glanced back again, and thought, no, he's gone.
And
Took me bloody $1 too.
of course, for me, I call it my interview. That was like I felt like it was the final test, all on the road, looking for the Christ on the earth. What is it?
he gave me a 50-cent coin.
He did?
Yeah. I gotta go find it.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I'll do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so for me it lasted 3 hours, and of course it was all that drama, Diane and Greg at Greg's place. It was tremendous, and then I heard his stories, etc. But he He looked like, you describe what Rob looked like to you, and I'll then describe Mo.
All right, Rob wearing a beanie, not like this, but you know, a normal flat down beanie. Red curly hair, short, but like, you know, nappy curly hair. It wasn't bulging out, but it was coming out the back. Freckles. He had quite a broad chest as for a short young guy, and it looked like he had, not fat, but you know, he had a wide, broad chest and short bloke, blue eyes, normal round face, round skin. Round face. Bit of a stubble, and
And the eyes,
the eyes blue,
piercing.
blue, yeah,
yes,
piercing
yeah.
blue eyes.
Well, of course, when I met Al on August the 7th, 2007, and I was on Vancouver Island in Sydney, BC, and I'd been pulled out of the house by my spirit was saying, go for a walk. Anyway, people have heard this before, but I met this, I turned around from looking in the window of what was a liquor store, but it had been a lovely looking liquor store, you know, part of the street decor of that town. And I turned around to see this one coming and looking straight at my eyes, and the first thing I noticed were his piercing blue eyes, the colour of Yars, and my eyes, looking straight at me, and he's pushing a bicycle, and he looks at me and he says, can you tell me what time it is? Well, I haven't worn a watch for seems like centuries, but I knew I had left about 20 minutes. At 8:40 I left the place where I had a muffin and tea for breakfast and walked. So I looked at him and said, it must be about 9 o'clock, and this eye contact. And of course, as I'm thinking, it must be 9 o'clock, I had been trained by the angels to reduce everything to numbers. So I knew that 9, it's all about the 9, and the rhyme was on time, was very significant. So immediately this off-the-wall conversation engages. He's got bags of bottles draped over the back of his bike rack on the rear tyre. And he says, you know, it just took me 1 hour to collect those bottles, and it's worth about $40. And they were glass beer bottles. And of course, you know, gold in garbage, GIG and all that. So I entered the conversation, yes, there's gold in garbage. And then what occurred, of course, was a 3-hour conversation where he had his story. But he was looking, as he was telling his stories, which were fantastic, and it gets the listener in, he was looking for the judgment. How was I going to judge what he was telling me? And of course, I didn't. I was absorbed by the stories and emoted. Yep. It's all the emotional connection with, and you know, you've got to do what you've got to do in the circumstances that you are. So, but all of it, and he was the one that told me, because he knew that I was looking for the man, the Christ, the body of flesh on the earth. And I knew I was having a divine encounter with an angel. So he just drops this great whopping clanger as I'm in Sydney, BC. You know, by this time it was my 4th trip back to Canada and the USA looking for the Christ on the earth. So he just says very casually, well, my mother, you know, this is BC, Canada, my mother was born in Australia, as he turns his head away just as he drops the clanger. Of course, my brain is going, what? What am I doing here? As I go, where? Is she still alive? He said, oh, I don't know. Like, is she still alive to ask her? No. And he says, as I go,
Didn't know if his mother was still alive.
No, he didn't. he knew she wasn't alive to ask, because I said, where in Australia? He says, I don't know. So is your mother still alive to ask? I'm like, phone her right now. It was going to be my next. No, he says, she's dead. And of course your mother died 1999, wasn't it? Yes. Anyway, so all of these great big clues, and we walked through this merry dance of the stories, and would I judge, and of course I didn't, but others did, and that all led to the eviction of the one who thought she was Mary, and all kinds of things. So you met Al. He gets around, doesn't he?
Sure does.
And did he vanish?
No, well, I didn't look back, right? I didn't look back after because once I went out the terminal door, I was standing in the line, and
Yes.
I had plenty of time to go back and look, but no, I was just more contemplative at that time. I was just like, reflecting that everything was happening, and I was dying for sleep. Then I get on the bus. I get on the bloody bus, and it's about an hour into the bus trip that I finally fall asleep, right? But an hour, 2 hours after leaving the terminal, we stop, and the bloody bus driver wakes me up after about an hour or 45 minutes of sleep. He wakes me up. And I'm going, what? I'm like, oh, I'm at RVB. I gotta grab my shit. Then I see a big kangaroo. We're at Matilda. And I get outside. I'm like, oh, the guy just killed me. The guy just killed me. Like, and then I woke up and I started feeling hungry, so I got salad, and then I went back on the bus. Finally fell asleep again, and then Angels had me waking up, kicking the bottom of the chair, and underneath these chairs, like say that's the flat bottom, you've got this panel of plastic that's nice and sharp like that. And the poor Japanese girl in front of me, like I'm waking up, kicking this thing with my right shin, she's going like this. And that happened 3 times, and then of course,
You've got blood and
got a
bruising, and
I left some skin on that bus.
blood and skin.
By the third time that I kicked it and woke up in the excruciating pain I was in, I just went, okay, I'll do it. I'll stay awake. Because people were looking at me. They were like, you just hear. 10 minutes, 20 minutes goes by, same thing. And then the third time, and I'm looking at the car and I'm like, oh. And I was fighting, not tears, I was fighting back, just screaming because I was like, oh God. Yeah, so I just stayed awake. I was like, there's no way, there's no reason why I would have, jolted 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times after sleeping, going, oh, you think subconsciously while you're in the sleep, my brain would be going, not a good idea, that really hurt. It must have been angels. Keeping me awake.
There's a lesson there.
How are we going for time?
Oh, we're way over time. This will have to be the beginning of the next show.
Okay.
All right. Oh, yes, 1 hour and 8 minutes, 26 seconds, so we'll call it.